I am the most terrifying triple S rank Ghost Emperor on Blue Star. Yet all I want is to coast through life, scrolling short videos. But the reborn school beauty insists on exposing me to the government. She even wants me to become the nation's guardian. Because this reborn school beauty knows something. In 1 year, the uncanny will awaken across the globe. The entire world will fall. And for Jia to survive, the only way is for the triple S rank Ghost Emperor, me, to become their guardian god. Right now, I look down at the purple-haired woman kneeling before me. I sense a familiar aura within her, one that feels oddly akin to my own. My eyes narrow. Expressionless, I speak. Tell me, who are you, where do you come from, and how do you know I exist? Hearing this, Vivian doesn't hesitate. She looks up, meets my eyes, and speaks. Lord Ghost Emperor, I come from 15 years in the future. I am your saintess. In 1 year, the uncanny will awaken across the globe, and you will be Xia's last hope. You will be the guardian god of all its people. Hearing Vivian's words, I'm a little surprised. I stare off into the void. For someone like me who already stands at the peak of the world with nowhere left to climb, life has become a stagnant pond. Anything that stirs the water catches my interest, especially when the mystery involves my own future self. A triple S rank Ghost Emperor who spends his days idle, scrolling short videos, ends up becoming humanity's savior? This script is way too dramatic. Is this woman lying to me? After a brief pause, Vivian looks back at me. Lord Ghost Emperor, too many details would surely spoil the fun for you. But there's one thing you need to know. If you agree to serve as Xia's protector, Xia can offer you the opportunity to break through to triple S rank. It's a win-win. Whatever nourishment you need to advance further, Xia has it all. All it takes is a flick of your finger to protect Xia through the coming chaos. Hearing this, I have to admit, I'm tempted. A triple S rank Ghost Emperor is unrivaled under heaven, yet still trapped within it. And now this woman tells me there's a way to break free of that very sky. That's not something an ordinary human should know. How do I know if you're telling the truth? Give me something concrete. Don't try any tricks. Only if you can prove this future is real will I consider your request. Hearing this, Vivian's heart finally settles. The Ghost Emperor is interested. She knows she's already halfway there. Without hesitation, she nods and begins recounting the events of her past life. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Bureau headquarters in the capital, a meeting that will decide the fate of countless lives is underway. At the head of the table, Bureau Chief Marcus rises slowly, his expression grave. Based on satellite surveillance and confirmation from multiple frontline scouts, we can now confirm the S-rank uncanny, the Starving Wraith, has changed course. Its new target, the capital. The moment she says this, everyone's face changes. A middle-aged man speaks up proposing, "Is this confirmed? If it's true, we need to trigger a level 1 evacuation immediately and summon every A-rank hunter and above nationwide. We cannot let it reach the capital." Hearing this, Marcus raises a hand for silence. I understand what you're all saying, but right now the real problem isn't whether to fight, it's how to pin it down. You all know the Starving Wraith's habits. If we mobilize the entire nation's forces and it suddenly changes direction, striking another city instead, the result will be a disaster of epic scale. So, Marcus turns to face Xia's only S-rank hunter, Kane. I need you to lead a squad of A-rank hunters, centered on the capital, to run high-frequency patrols. The moment it shows itself, strike immediately. But the words had barely left her mouth when the comm system at the center of the room suddenly flashes red. Everyone's heart tightens. Marcus connects the call instantly. A holographic projection materializes before them. On screen is Cole, captain of the frontline tracking squad, smoke billowing behind him on the battlefield. His voice is urgent and grim. "Chief, the Starving Wraith is moving. It's accelerating, heading straight for the capital. A real-time tracking map is projected. The Crimson Path cuts through the map like a blade, aimed straight at the heart of the capital." At the same moment, the Bureau's core system blares a piercing alarm. Marcus's expression turns grim. Warning, warning, S-rank uncanny detected. An S-class protected target lies in its path. The next instant, a location map zooms in automatically. A single name is marked clearly along the Crimson Path. Vivian Kane, who had barely been holding onto his composure, shoots up from his seat. "What? Why is she there? Didn't I tell her not to wander off? Contact Leo right now. Tell him no matter what happens, get her out of there first." Meanwhile, after listening to Vivian's full, unreserved account, I basically confirmed one thing. What she's saying is very likely true. I withdraw the terrifying pressure blanketing heaven and earth. Halfway up the hillside cemetery, Leo, frozen in place for so long, suddenly goes slack and collapses to his knees. He gasps for air, as if he just fought free of drowning. Slowly, his senses return. The instant he can move, he grabs his comm device, already burning hot from alerts, his face hardening. A virtual screen pops up instantly. Dozens of red alerts flash wildly. The moment he reads Starving Wraith, his first instinct is to protect his young mistress. He whips around to face Vivian. "Miss, run! The Starving Wraith is coming!" But Vivian doesn't move, unbothered. Calmly she says, "No need to run. I know about the Starving Wraith. It's just an S-rank uncanny. With the Ghost Emperor here, it wouldn't dare act out of line." At the same time, less than a mile from the cemetery on the road, a churning mass of black fog surges forward, its target unmistakable, straight for the cemetery. Within the fog, countless shriveled, twisted faces writhe. This is the S-rank uncanny, the Starving Wraith. Just as it's about to step into the cemetery, I, who have kept my eyes closed in thought this whole time, slowly open them. The next instant, the pressure of a double S-rank Ghost Emperor quietly radiates outward. In that instant, the entire cemetery feels torn away from reality itself. The Starving Wraith, charging at full speed, freezes instantly, as if gripped by an invisible hand, pinned in place. Then it jerks and twitches like a puppet on strings. At the same moment, Kane arrives by aircraft just outside the cemetery. He draws his longsword and cuts down in a single strike. The starving wraith's shroud splits open at once. Everyone finally sees clearly what's inside the cemetery. They see me, and the starving wraith dancing helplessly at my feet. Kane's eyes meet mine. In the next instant, the air around him feels sucked away. He tears at his collar, gasping for breath. Even inside him, the S-rank uncanny he's carried within him for years is trembling now, gripped by an instinctive terror. But just then, Vivian walks over, and the uncanny inside him finally settles. Vivian reassures her father. "Father, you don't need to be so wary of the Ghost Emperor. He means us no harm." The moment she says this, it's like thunder crashing over the cemetery, inside and out. Kane's throat runs dry. Cold sweat breaks across his skin. He stares hard at his daughter as if seeing her for the first time. "Vivian, what are you saying?" But Vivian doesn't look away. She meets his gaze head-on and nods firmly. "Father, I mean it. This is Lord Ghost Emperor, a triple S rank being. I came here today specifically to meet him." The moment she says this, everyone present falls into dead silence. Triple S rank. The rank itself is practically taboo, a level of existence humanity has never truly faced. After a long silence, Kane can no longer hold it in. He turns and shouts, "Vivian, do you know what you're saying? Triple S rank isn't just an uncanny incident anymore. That's a natural disaster. How do you even know he exists? And why are you taking his side?" Hearing this, Vivian takes a deep breath. This moment has come at last. He speaks with care. "Father, Chief Marcus, what I'm about to say concerns the future of Jia, and whether you all survive at all. I know these things because I came back from the future. I have been reborn." The moment he says this, Marcus's voice carries a gravity never heard before. "Vivian, you need to understand this isn't something to say lightly. Chief, your eyes are sharp. If I were lying, you would surely see through it soon enough. But if what I say is true, and you fail to take my warning seriously, you will regret it when Xia's darkest hour comes. In my previous life, 1 year from now, across the entire world, the uncanny will undergo their first great surge in power. They will run rampant, plundering and killing everywhere. Humanity will lose all initiative. The uncanny will no longer be a passing calamity. They will rise to the top of the food chain, and humans will become their prey. Cities will no longer shelter humans. They'll become the uncanny's dining table. Shelters will only be coffins that delay death, filled with endless fear and hunger. People will be dragged into the ghost domain fully conscious. They will turn on each other in hunger and terror." The moment she finishes, dead silence falls over the room once more. Kane stands frozen. 20 years together, and he knows his daughter too well. Vivian is not someone who exaggerates, and she's certainly not someone who would joke about something like this. The grief on her face right now isn't an act. It's the look of someone who has already witnessed hell on Earth, a feeling this life's Vivian has never known. At the same time, inside the command hall, the Nuwa system kicks into high-speed operation. Moments later, a cold line of data appears on the main screen. The Nuwa system summary. Narrative content matches current anomaly trends at 99%. Seeing this, Marcus falls silent. His hand grips the edge of the table so tight it whitens. But Vivian doesn't give him more time to hesitate. She continues, "Chief, I recall Xia's Operation Dragon Rise has already been officially launched, hasn't it?" The words strike like lightning, crashing through the command hall. Marcus's head snaps up. For the first time, his voice loses its composure. "How do you know about Operation Dragon Rise?" Vivian doesn't answer. Instead, she counters. "Haven't the gifted hunters you selected ever reported back to you? The uncanny's activity is rising. The ghost domain stability is strengthening." Marcus doesn't argue further, because he's already pulled up the relevant files. Every single one confirms what Vivian is saying. The command hall falls completely silent, but just then, a calm voice suddenly speaks. "It's me, Operation Dragon Rise. That's the plan where you're trying to use gifted hunters to fight the uncanny, isn't it? I recall it was launched not long ago. I even went and watched the beginning of it myself." Those words alone drain the color from Marcus's face. The military maintained the tightest secrecy, yet both of these people know. In this moment, he finally understands what it means to stand before a being from a higher dimension. Their secrets may never have been secrets at all. Vivian continues recounting the future she once lived through. The uncanny erupt on a global scale. Nations fall one after another. Even Xia, despite its vitality, can barely hold on, until the day the Ghost Emperor finally appears. 10,000 ghosts besiege the capital, its walls on the verge of falling. Humanity, in despair, waits for death to arrive. And the Ghost Emperor, alone, crushes 10,000 ghosts. From that moment, Xia endures. The Ghost Emperor becomes Xia's final guardian god, and I become the Saintess, with speaking for humanity before him. But it all comes too late. By then, Xia has been battered down to its last breath, hanging on by a thread. Even if we manage to save it in the moment, years of accumulated losses still drag this nation, this world, toward ruin. Vivian's voice shifts from sorrow to resolve. But this future hasn't happened yet. Everything can still be saved. Chief Marcus, are you ready to choose? Hearing this, Marcus falls silent for a long moment, then slowly lets out a breath. Stand down the alert. Seal this information. Kane, stay at the cemetery with Vivian. With that, Marcus cuts the connection. Carrying the full recording and the Nuwa system's analysis, she strides forward, heavy-footed, straight toward the Sky Palace. Meanwhile, in the cemetery on the capital's outskirts, I speak up quietly. Your father's calmer than I expected. I suppose that's what it means to be a soldier. Hearing this, Vivian replies softly, with pride. Because he's a hunter. People like us learned long ago that this world was never safe. Our purpose is to make it a little safer. I don't respond right away. I just smile, my gaze seeming to pierce pierce right through space itself. Let's go. They're waiting for us. With a wave of my hand, I tear space itself open, take her by the wrist, and step through. Inside the cabinet chamber, Marcus, still deep in discussion with his colleagues over other matters, suddenly feels the air turn cold. The next instant, two figures appear out of thin air. No warning, no sign at all. They're simply standing there right in front of him. I raise a hand in greeting. Hello, Chief Marcus, and you must be Shia's highest authority. I turn to the old man beside him and smile faintly. The instant I speak, the conference room feels as if the air itself has frozen solid. The next second, above the room, the Nuwa system's alarm shatters the silence with a piercing shriek. On-screen data churns wildly. Highest level anomaly target locking on. Threat level, immeasurable. Recommend immediate activation of maximum protection protocol. All personnel to level 1 combat readiness. Almost at the same instant, the heavy alloyed doors burst open. A wave of fully armed guards and hunters pour in one after another. The click of weapons loading echoes through the room. Runes flare to life. Ghost energy surges. The once modest conference room is packed shoulder to shoulder in an instant. The air itself thickens with a killing intent stretched to its limit. Marcus immediately steps in front of Elder Lee, his expression taut, eyes locked on me, not daring to let her guard down for even a second. With just one word from Elder Lee, this room would become an actual battlefield within a second. But Elder Lee simply rises slowly, raising a hand. That's enough. Everyone out. Marcus hesitates for a beat, then finally nods. The guards file out, the alarm fades, and soon only 4 people remain in the room. Elder Lee breaks the silence first. Mr. Ghost Emperor, how should I address you? Judging by your appearance, you look like one of Shia's own people. I'm curious, do the uncanny also originate from humans? Hearing this, the corner of my mouth lifts slightly, because I know exactly what this old man really wants to confirm isn't the answer itself, but where I stand. I speak calmly. Elder Lee, the uncanny don't come from humans. At least I don't. This current form of mine is just for convenience while I'm operating in Shia. After all, dressed like this, doesn't it make me feel a little friendlier to you? Hearing this, Elder Lee pauses, then laughs. Yes, it certainly does. I take a seat, relaxed. Just call me Chen Feng. Now, let's talk about what a partnership between me and Jia would look like. According to my saintess, I will become Jia's guardian god in the future. So now it's time to seriously discuss that very matter. Marcus and Elder Lee exchange a glance. Elder Lee speaks first. According to the saintess, 1 year from now, Xia will face a true awakening of the uncanny. So we must act ahead of time. With your power, Lord Chen Feng, we can purge the uncanny across all of Xia, at least ensure that before the full awakening, Xia's foundations remain unshaken. At the same time, it will reduce the number of enemies you might face in the future, and through this, shape you into Xia's true guardian god. With those words, the room falls into a brief silence. It's a wild plan, but one impossible to refuse. Vivian barely hesitates, and nods in agreement. My lord, this is the best possible option right now. From the future timeline I've witnessed, this holds true. Faith energy is the key to your future breakthrough into godhood. Those words seem to unlock some hidden answer. I freeze for a moment, and countless thoughts flash through my mind. Even the uncanny can ascend to godhood. Once that thought takes root, it refuses to let go. A moment later, I nod slightly. I understand. I'm also well aware our partnership rests on eliminating the uncanny threat to Xie. But these uncanny aren't just something to be purged. Used properly, they can become your strength as well. Take that starving wraith for instance. Instead of sealing it away, let's hand it to my saintess. Hearing this, Elder Lee's face lights up. Good, then it's settled. Chief Marcus, give them your full cooperation. From today onward, put the entire machinery of the state into motion at full speed for this plan. As for this old man, Elder Lee says, rising from his seat, I have other matters to attend to. I'll leave the rest to you. Marcus nods, serious. With that, Elder Lee leaves the conference room. The 3 of us remaining make our way to the training grounds. I look up at Vivian, my tone casual. So, my saintess, are you ready? The question sends a small jolt through Vivian's heart. A moment later, she breaks into a rare smile. Lord Ghost Emperor, everything is ready. Let me feel the power of this starving wraith. Hearing this, the corner of my mouth lifts slightly. I raise my hand gently. An invisible force descends like it's falling from the sky itself. The starving wraith's cold, greedy, restless aura is forcibly compressed in an instant, as if seized in the crushing grip of an invisible hand. From within the wraith's cry comes a barely audible whimper, pure instinctive fear of death. My gaze stays cold and calm. To make sure the starving wraith's power can be used safely, I leave no risks unaddressed. The starving wraith is ruthlessly crushed down and rebuilt by me, until it's reduced to barely C-rank strength. That should do it. This is the safest state it can be in. Secure enough to be safe, yet still enough for Vivian to truly experience the essence of an S-rank uncanny. With that, I toss it forward carelessly. The starving wraith sinks slowly into Vivian's body. In an instant, hunter energy surges through her like a tide. Her aura climbs, rising step by step. Kane, just back from the cemetery, witnesses the scene and his pupils contract sharply. He sees it clearly. This isn't simple control. It's a downgraded inheritance. He murmurs in awe. So that's it. The S-rank uncanny's essence is preserved intact. It's just that its power has been safely sealed within a controllable range. What does that mean? It means this method can be replicated. An hour later, the energy in the training ground gradually settles. Vivian slowly opens her eyes, In that instant, her entire presence has transformed completely. Marcus can no longer hold back his emotions, his excitement nearly spilling over. It worked! It actually worked! Mr. Chen, if this ability can be spread widely, Shia's Hunter Bureau will transform completely. We'll become the strongest in the world. Please, we must launch this plan immediately. That way, every single person in Shia's Hunter Bureau will become your most devoted follower. Hearing this, I simply nod. This is part of our arrangement. I'll follow through, naturally. Besides, the stronger they are, the more valuable they become to me. The words come without any pretense, yet they send a jolt through Marcus. He says nothing more, turning at once to leave the training ground, already beginning to mobilize the entire capital's Hunter Bureau members. Meanwhile, Kane steps up to me, clenching his fist. He speaks respectfully. Lord Ghost Emperor, Mr. Chen, if it's possible, I'd like to ask a favor of you. He doesn't spell it out directly, but the meaning is clear enough in his eyes. He wants power. I look at him, my gaze steady for a moment, then nod. No problem, you're my Saintess's father. That alone is reason enough for me to help you. The words hit Kane hard. This Ghost Emperor is far more humane than he expected. He doesn't hesitate any longer, sitting cross-legged right there on the training ground. I raise my hand. Uncanny power spreads out slowly, subduing the uncanny within Kane's body with almost no resistance at all. Moments later, the process is complete. Kane looks up. So this is what it feels like. He finally understands where his daughter's transformation came from. This is the confidence born of absolute power. At the same time, on the other side of the capital, in a shadowed corner deliberately overlooked, the air turns suddenly cold. Dozens of uncanny figures gather in silence. Their forms vary wildly, their auras dark, but without exception, every one of them is S rank or above. If their auras were fully unleashed, they could blanket the entire capital. But right now, something forces that power to stay contained, because at the very center of the group stands an even more terrifying presence, the double S rank uncanny, the Malice Wraith. Seething with fury, the Malice Wraith announces the starving Wraith's death. We've lost another one of our own. Are you all just going to keep hiding? Look at yourselves, cowering like this. Humans are so fragile, why not feast on them? The capital right now has more humans than anywhere else. It's the perfect feast. Rather than being picked off one by humans, why not march straight into the capital and catch them completely off guard? Hearing this, the other uncanny nod in agreement, one after another. Soon, driven by the Malice Wraith's will, one shadowy figure after another slips silently into every dark corner of the capital. Their target is unmistakable, humans. But even as the uncanny quietly position themselves inside the capital's Hunter Bureau, a genuine transformation is unfolding at the very same time. The training ground's doors open again and again. Wave after wave of Bureau operatives enter under Marcus's personal direction, passing into this temporarily sealed zone. Meanwhile, the starving Wraith's disappearance ripples outward like a boulder dropped into a still lake. Encrypted reports, one after another, are rushed to core institutions around the world. Question after question gets raised again and again in intelligence briefings across nations. Some even put forward an even more alarming theory. Has Jia already produced a double S rank hunter? But the moment the idea surfaces, it's shot down almost immediately, because under current understanding, double S rank is practically synonymous with an uncontrollable disaster, something no single nation could possibly withstand. And while nations are still frantically running their analyses, trying to make sense of it all, Xia does something that leaves the entire world stunned. Completely stunned. A public announcement, with nothing held back, goes out through official channels, broadcast simultaneously at home and abroad. Nationwide, Xia formally launches its plan to spread hunter power to the masses. The instant the news breaks, it's as if the whole world hits pause. Pedestrians stop in their tracks to listen. Countless hunters across the globe glue themselves to their screens, almost certain they've misread the report. Online, public opinion explodes instantly. Because across the entire world, hunters have always been an extremely rare and dangerous asset. Even the most powerful nations dare only train them in small numbers. There's only one reason: the failure rate is too high. One misstep, and at best it costs a life. At worst, an uncanny breaks loose and slaughters civilians. Yet Jia chooses this exact moment to, in the boldest way possible, announce a nationwide hunter awakening. This isn't just bold, it borders on insanity. It's nothing short of madness. But facing a storm of doubt from around the globe, officials offer little explanation at the press conference. They simply repeat, again and again, the operation begins soon. Be ready. Soon, a week passes. With my help, every professional hunter gains full mastery over their uncanny power. I stand in the conference room, my tone even. All of you know exactly what this operation means. This isn't about proving my own power. It's about showing everyone Xia's absolute strength. Becoming a hunter isn't a death sentence. I pull up a map and continue. The uncanny in the capital have been getting restless lately. Since they want to come out and play, let's give them that chance. It's showtime for all of you. As my words settle, the entire Capital Hunter Bureau springs into motion like a finely tuned machine, operating at full speed. Orders go out one after another. Squad after squad deploys rapidly, following predetermined routes, beginning a sweeping operation to suppress every uncanny within the capital. Almost at the same moment, in a hidden district of the capital, the uncanny who had been lying in wait finally make their move. One after another, They step out from the shadows, killing intent boiling over, in full-scale revolt, because they know full well the Capital Hunter Bureau is on the move. This time isn't a probe, it isn't a partial sweep, it's an open show of force, meant to tear the uncanny out of the capital by the roots. If the uncanny don't unite now, they may be finished for good. Meanwhile, at the Capital Hunter Bureau's training ground, I look up. Hundreds of drones hold a steady formation high above, 2 screens on each side broadcasting live. The crystal-clear footage streams across all of Xia and out to the rest of the world. On camera, a group of fully armed hunters stand in formation, and at the very front stands a man in a security guard's uniform. Plenty of viewers' first thought is, did something go wrong with the broadcast, or did someone hack the official account? But soon, people notice the formation itself. Every hunter is subtly arranged around that security guard as the center. The doubt instantly escalates into shock. In overseas livestream chats, mockery floods the screen almost immediately. Ha! Is Xia really that short on people? No need to force it if you've got nobody. A security guard leading a ghost hunting squad? What kind of new joke is this? Solvane. Inside Solvane's internal hunter administration livestream room, the S-rank hunter Mantle lounges across a luxurious couch, beauties gathered around him, glasses swirling lazily in their hands. Yet his eyes never leave the center of the screen. Interesting. Kane is standing behind him. That man isn't ordinary, but the uncanny in the capital aren't for show. There are at least several thousand of them. To clear them all out in one go, that's far too naive. And he isn't the only one. At this very moment, top hunters from nations around the world are almost all watching this broadcast. They want to see just what gives Xia the nerve to livestream this cleanup operation to the entire world. And just as the world's eyes converge, on camera, I finally speak. Everyone, I'm Chen Feng. This time, I'll be leading the Capital Hunter Bureau in this operation to eliminate the uncanny. With that, I push my hand forward. Space cracks open like shattering glass. A gate built entirely from pure uncanny power slowly takes shape. Beyond it churns pure darkness, a suffocating malice. The very nest countless uncanny depend on to survive. The broadcast is crystal clear. Viewers across the entire world witness the ghost domain for the very first time. And the instant the gate opens, every uncanny inside the ghost domain, strong or weak, rational or not, freezes solid. An instinctive terror spreads wildly through every one of them. Meanwhile, on the hunter's side, each one fired up like never before. Kane steps forward. When he reappears, he's already before the malice wraith, driving a fist down. The battle erupts in full. The uncanny's territory turns instantly into a battlefield of carnage. The uncanny are torn apart piece by piece. Countless Xia citizens watching the live stream feel their scalps prickle with fear, some unable to hold back their remarks. You might as well surrender early. Just become one of our own uncanny already. I watch it all unfold, my expression still calm, though a hint of approval flickers in my eyes. Between my influence and their own relentless training, my declaration and Xia's official statement go live simultaneously across every platform. They set the entire nation ablaze. Countless citizens of Xia surge with excitement, chanting for war in one voice. For the first time, they understand with total clarity that their nation truly stands behind them. Tears well up in every eye. The call for a nationwide hunter awakening reaches its absolute peak, and all of this marks the very start of Xia's readiness to clash head-on with Solvane's empire. Meanwhile, in the finest suite of the Capital Hunter Bureau, I sit on a couch, resting and recovering. A moment later, I slowly open my eyes. My gaze seems to pierce right through space itself. The next instant, countless figures, each carrying the exact same aura as me, split away from my own body, then dissolve into shadow and vanish into the void, racing outward toward every corner of Xia. Once every avatar has been dispatched, I rise slowly, gazing out the window, the corner of my mouth curling upward. I hope you're all smart enough not to interrupt my mission. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind teaching you exactly what it means to become one of the uncanny. And at the very moment this hell descends, Xia's government issues its highest level announcement. The National Hunter Initiative officially begins. Almost the instant the news breaks, filtered in advance through massive data analysis, the first batch of eligible candidates is notified directly by local hunter bureaus through texts and phone calls. No application, no sign-up. Just one calm, authoritative message: you meet the criteria for the first wave of hunters. Report to your local hunter bureau within 24 hours. In that instant, all of Xia erupts. Everyone who gets the text cheers out loud. Holy crap, I got picked! I actually got chosen, ha ha ha! I'm really gonna be a hunter, holy hell! I get to fight the uncanny myself. The instant countless ordinary people read the message, they can barely believe their own eyes. Some shake so hard they can barely hold their phones. Some drop to a crouch right there, gasping for air. Others spin in place, too excited to stand still, like a middle-aged man who just won 30 million on the lottery. In an instant, every mundane worry stops mattering. Soon, the first wave of chosen citizens begins streaming into hunter bureaus across the country. They're led into specially designated hunter zones, and there, my avatars already wait in silence, screening every one of them by sense alone. Those with true talent, steady minds, craving power without being consumed by greed, are accepted without incident. But those with unstable minds, too caught up in worldly desires, find the uncanny inside them spiraling completely out of control. A brief, agonizing scream, and then they're swallowed whole by the uncanny. Then, silence. It all happens without a sound reaching the public. No announcement is made, and no one offers sympathy. Because the Hunter Bureau made it clear from the start, becoming a hunter was never a path to power. It's a privilege, one that comes with real risk and real cost. When the first full round of results reaches the cabinet meeting room, even Elder Lee and the others, though braced for it, fall speechless for a moment. The numbers flickering across the screen are almost cruel in their clarity. The number of new hunters far exceeds every projection, and the stability rate is unnervingly high. Seeing this, Elder Lee can't help but laugh out loud, as if he's a young man again, full of fire. He rises to his feet, pride in his voice. Now, even if Solvane came at us with everything they have, we wouldn't be afraid anymore. The next day, the moment the first thread of faith energy flows back through my avatars into my true self, my eyes snap open. More faith energy pours in like a flood, no longer scattered, no longer faint trickles, but a genuine, unstoppable torrent. I realized something instantly. My earlier assessment was correct. Faith doesn't come from bystanders. It comes only from those whose fate I've truly changed. They benefit directly, and their faith runs purer, deeper. Once this becomes clear, I flash forward in an instant. When I reappear, I'm already standing in my own cemetery. Black clouds begin gathering overhead. The once clear daylight is swallowed by shadow in moments. An uncanny aura vast enough to blot out the sky rises like some ancient being stirring awake. I stand there in silence, lightning crackling across my body. A transformation is underway. Right now, the only human in the entire cemetery still standing, still conscious, is Vivienne. She stands at the cemetery's edge, shielded by a faint, invisible boundary, its power leaking unconsciously from me, yet somehow shielding her perfectly from the devastation. Vivienne tilts her head back, staring at the figure wrapped entirely in darkness and uncanny power. Her heart pounds. Uncontrollable. Not out of fear, out of awe, because the presence I'm radiating right now is something she witnessed once before, in her past life. In that future where countless uncanny and endless despair had swallowed everything whole, in that one battle that nearly wiped Xia off the map. It was me, standing alone above Xia, facing down every uncanny in the heavens. In that battle, Vivienne watched with her own eyes as S rank uncanny were torn apart by me like insects. She even remembers that the S rank beings she personally saw in that fight numbered no fewer than dozens. Not to mention those true monsters at the very peak of the uncanny hierarchy, terrors so far beyond rank they couldn't even be classified. And now, here in this era, she's feeling that same presence again, far ahead of schedule. It means Xia made the right choice. It means the future has already changed. Vivienne's eyes fill with tears. Her rebirth was worth something after all. Outside the cemetery, inside Xia's cabinet meeting room, the mood is equally tense, tinged with a shock impossible to hide. On the massive screen, the live feed streaming in shows exactly what's unfolding in the cemetery, a scene that looks like the end of the world itself. Elder Lee and the rest of Xia's top officials watch the screen in complete silence. Even having witnessed my power once before, when they see this transformation with their own eyes, they still can't stay composed. All they can do is stare, dumbstruck, as I cut down the uncanny. Meanwhile, the Hunter Bureau's dispatch system runs at full capacity. Countless hunters are deployed around the cemetery's perimeter, standing ready. They form multiple lines of defense, not to reinforce me, but to keep anything that shouldn't be there from getting close. Because everyone understands clearly this cemetery isn't a battlefield right now. It's a god-tier bomb ready to detonate at any second. One misstep could end the world. As time trickles by second, I finally move within the cemetery. I slowly raise my head and open my eyes. In the next instant, a shattering sound beyond words echoes across heaven and earth. And with that, I officially step into X rank. The uncanny power around me pulls back like a receding tide, gathering and settling once more. In this moment, I finally understand fully the path Vivienne once described to me. Faith isn't some empty abstraction. It's the fuel that drives a Ghost Emperor's ascension. My gaze settles on the figure standing at the cemetery's edge. Vivienne is gazing up at me, her eyes burning with devotion, like a believer awaiting a miracle. It's about time you got something in return. I speak evenly. My voice isn't loud, yet it echoes with perfect clarity through the cemetery. Vivienne, my believer, I grant you power. The moment the words leave my mouth, heaven and earth shudder. Endless streams of uncanny power converge from every direction, surging wildly toward Vivienne. Her eyes snap wide open. She lets out a gasp she can't hold back, yet still accepts my gift with unwavering devotion. My gift falls on her like spring rain. The uncanny inside her drinks it in and surges into wild growth. Her rank climbs at a breakneck pace. Back in the cabinet meeting room, on the other end of the screen, everyone watches, unmistakably, as Vivienne's aura closes in on S rank, at a pace visible to the naked eye. Marcus speaks evenly. Cain, your daughter has truly stumbled into a once-in-a-lifetime chance, receiving a gift this immense from the Ghost Emperor. Cain says nothing, but his hand trembles slightly. Pride for his daughter shines unmistakably in his eyes, along with relief that he chose to believe her from the very start. In the cemetery, the advancement finally comes to an end. Vivienne slowly opens her eyes. Her aura has fully transformed. She's reached S rank. I turn my gaze toward the distance, one eyebrow rising, because a faint, malicious summons crosses a great distance and lands within my awareness. Someone is speaking my name, not with reverence, with hostility. A cold smile spreads slowly across my face. I've been wondering where to test my new strength. The next second, black mist swirls, and I vanish from where I stand. Meanwhile, at Xia's border, hunter forces gathered from nations around the world push through dense trees, finally setting foot on Xia's soil. Solvane's Hunter Affairs Action Team leader Steve speaks in a low voice. Everyone, one last check. Once we're inside Xia's territory, every movement stays in constant contact. Report anything unusual immediately. No one pushes ahead on their own. Understood? Steve's eyes sweep across the group, but he finds his words haven't landed with everyone. Some are still joking around, half ignoring him. A scornful laugh rises from the crowd. A middle-aged man steps forward. Captain Steve, aren't you a little too tense? We're just stepping into Xia. It's not like we're facing that so-called god directly. Besides, you're not the only S-rank hunter here, so here's my point. His tone rising, growing more animated. Let me take temporary command. We'll advance faster and hit harder. Only that way will we actually draw out this so-called guardian god of Xia. Steve's voice hardens. I don't agree. This isn't a stage for personal heroics. We carry the weight of our nations on our backs. We're here to probe, not to throw our lives away. But the moment he finishes, the other nation's hunter representatives exchange glances, clearly unhappy with what Steve just said. After a brief silence, someone nods. Someone murmurs agreement. It's not a bad idea, actually. After all, Mr. Duke has real S-rank frontline experience. This operation really does need someone tough enough to command it. Another soldier chimes in. Right. The more aggressive we push, the faster we'll draw the target out. The mood shifts fast. Duke's face carries the look of a man who's already won. Steve watches it unfold, his expression darkening by the second. He realizes this squad's fractures didn't start here. They were there from the very beginning. This team was never going to be truly unified. Duke sees it too, of course. He plants his hands on his hips, his grin widening. Of course. Since I'm taking command, Kaiden's squad will naturally lead the charge. The soldier's answer is 1, no problem. Duke lays out his plan. Then it's settled. Kaiden takes point, while the rest of you provide support. The plan is locked in, just like that. The joint hunter force from every nation begins its advance. At first, everything seems ordinary. Scattered uncanny fall with barely any effort. Plenty of them quietly relax. Right as they start to let their guard down, the sky darkens without warning. Steve senses something wrong the instant it happens. He snaps his head up, but it's already too late. Endless darkness pours down from every direction, swallowing the entire squad in an instant. Hundreds of hunters fall silent all at once. They finally understand exactly what kind of place they've just stumbled into. What is this? A domain? Impossible. Fall back! Fall back! Panic screams ring out one after another. But amid the chaos, Duke suddenly bursts into wild laughter. Instead of retreating, he pushes forward, taking a bold step ahead. But I glance at him, unbothered, and say just one word. Ignorant. My voice isn't loud, yet it reaches every ear with perfect clarity. The next instant, I raise my hand. All of you. Receive your welcome. As the words fall out of the darkness, one uncanny figure after another slowly emerges. Each one different in shape, each one radiating terror. The hunt begins in earnest. Screams drown out everything within seconds. The smell of blood spreads through the entire forest. In a matter of moments, the battlefield is sealed off completely. Not a single hunter escapes. Back in the capital, inside Xia's cabinet meeting room, everyone watches it unfold through satellite footage. That single scene becomes the one image none of them will ever forget. That this is a god's power? Marcus's voice comes out dry and strained. Even having watched Chen Feng in action countless times before, even having braced himself for it, when he actually sees the full picture of that border battlefield, his mind still goes blank for a moment, unavoidably. Beside him, Kane has stopped caring about appearances entirely. He leans forward, both hands pressed hard against the table. So it can be like this. So this is it. A hunter's true endpoint isn't fighting the uncanny, it's standing above them entirely. In this moment, he feels as if he's glimpsed an entirely new path. One that leads toward true godhood itself. By contrast, Elder Li and the rest of Xia's leadership look remarkably composed. The smiles on their faces aren't wild, uncontrolled joy. They're the calm of things finally settling into place, as if everything unfolded exactly as they expected. Elder Li speaks slowly. Xia's guardian god. This is our greatest strength, and it's the foundation Xia will truly stand on throughout this entire age of the uncanny's return. Save every second of this footage immediately, and back it all up. This is strategic-grade footage. It's also the finest proof Xia has of showing the entire world the true strength of a great nation. Meanwhile, at Xia's border, with one last agonized scream, it finally falls silent. The battle comes to an end. The forest returns to its usual stillness. Across the ground, bodies lie scattered every which way. Some are corroded ash gray by uncanny power. Others still wear the terror of their final moment. Duke among them. Not a single invader survives. Before long, their remains will simply feed the forest. They once carried themselves with total confidence, riding high, believing their strength unmatched, their nations mighty, here only to test tiny Xia. But not until the moment death arrived did they finally understand. This expedition was doomed to end exactly like this. From the very start. I stand above the sea of bodies, my expression cold, indifferent. Not a flicker of feeling over this lopsided victory. Because to me, these people are as small as mosquitoes. No one remembers how many mosquitoes they've swatted. Thousands of miles away, inside Solvain's national meeting room, the atmosphere stands in stark, total contrast to Xia's. Robert's hand grips the edge of the table so tight it aches. Cold sweat beads across his face, drained white as a sheet. Just moments ago, they'd been listening in to live audio streaming back over an encrypted channel. It was meant to keep them in control of the situation, but now it's become nothing short of psychological torture. Hearing the soldiers' screams, torn straight from the depths of their throats, wave after wave of gut-wrenching agony, leaves everyone in the room shuddering involuntarily, hands clamping over their ears. Even without visuals, they can picture it all too well. Exactly what kind of hell it must be. Robert's throat bobs. His whole body trembles. For the first time, he truly understands where Xia's confidence to declare war comes from. All this time, the so-called Xia threat had stayed mostly theoretical, politics, military posturing. But that threat, once confined to talk, has now become a living reality. One man cutting down an army. The room descends into chaos. Everyone wants to know what exactly happened. What did Xia actually do? Are they hiding something? Robert finally snaps back to himself, shouting an order. Activate the backup plan, now. Send the reserve unit to scout immediately. Do not enter Xie. Every action prioritizes their own survival above all else. The order is carried out at once. Before long, Solvain's second hunter unit reaches Xia's border. The unit is small in number but armed to the teeth, defenses maxed out. Its leader, James, is a seasoned A-rank hunter himself. But standing just outside the border, the instant he looks into Xia's territory, his entire body freezes. The sky hangs low and gray, as if it could collapse at any moment. In the distance, uncanny energy churns like a tide. Even from miles away, it sends his heart lurching in waves. That isn't pressure, that's a warning. James raises his hand almost purely on instinct. The whole squad snaps to maximum alert instantly. Even standing perfectly still outside the boundary line, he still feels wave after wave of suffocation. He gives the order, forcing himself to think clearly. We go no further. Set up the broadcast equipment. Send the footage back. We don't need to advance any further. The moment he says this, not a single person objects, because everyone understands one more step forward means certain death. And the instant the broadcast signal locks in, I, far off at the heart of the battlefield, slowly raise my head. A soft, barely audible laugh escapes me. So we have an audience. Maybe they'd like a more beautiful picture. With that, I deliberately pull back part of the uncanny domain, giving the camera a clearer, more spectacular view. The next instant, the ground shudders. A hillside collapses. A straight, open path comes into view. On either side, bodies pile like mountains, some still frozen in expressions of pure terror. And above the corpses, beneath the ash-gray sky, Duke's spirit hangs suspended high in the air. His agonized howl carries live across the entire world. In this moment, both the reserve unit at the border and every nation's leadership watching the broadcast fall into the exact same silence. They finally grasp one truth. What stands before them is a true god, a power no human could ever hope to match. Inside the meeting room, the crushing silence stretches on for a full 10 minutes. Finally, a voice breaks it. If we can't win, then let's just bow down and submit. The words alone freeze the entire room for a beat. The one who speaks is Kaidan's Hunter Affairs Chief Griffin. He rises to his feet, not a trace of shame on his face. In fact, he sounds entirely justified. Everyone, our warriors have already paid with their lives to establish one fact, and that fact is, Xia is not a nation we can afford to provoke. Given that, why should we keep throwing our people away? What we need to do is shift our position immediately and pursue cooperation with Xia instead, not keep playing the fool as some laughable rival. The facts have proven we simply cannot resist them. The moment he says this, after a brief silence, murmurs of agreement start rising through the room. In no time, words like cooperation, peace, and misunderstanding get repeated over and over. As if, just hours earlier, none of them had jointly planned that border probe, and no soldiers had died on foreign soil at all. Pragmatism shows its true face in full force. Soon, a so-called preliminary cooperation proposal gets hammered out amid the chaos and fear. In the end, it falls to Solvain's president, Robert, as the most weighty representative present, to step forward and open formal talks with Xie. Meanwhile, as the bloody aftermath at the border hasn't even fully settled, I've already flashed back to the capital, appearing in the meeting room. I give Elder Lee a quick rundown. The little rats at the border are all cleaned up, though those people should be coming to negotiate with you very soon. The moment the words leave my mouth, Elder Lee can't help but burst out laughing. Chen Feng, you're not just terrifyingly strong, you're mind-sharp too. We figured out their little scheme long ago. We've been rivals for years after all. But this time, we genuinely need some outside resources. As the National Hunter Initiative pushes forward, Xie's internal uncanny resources are already showing signs of strain, especially mid to high rank, uncanny. Demand far outpaces supply. It's a real practical problem. I'd already thought of this myself. I say evenly, make them open their borders. We need the uncanny from neighboring nations. I'm confident they'll agree. The moment I say this, every eye in the cabinet lights up at once. If it's going to be cooperation, there needs to be some real sincerity behind it. Elder Lee taps the table. Just opening a border feels far too half-hearted. The moment he finishes, the room fills once more with knowing laughter. I don't stay for the rest of the discussion. What needed doing is already done. I leave the cabinet chamber, Vivian beside me. Now that the world has come to call her saintess, strength is the only answer that truly matters. Vivian now has to prove to everyone that she's worthy of that title. But even as I go into seclusion to train, Robert, thousands of miles away, can no longer sit still. Fear eats away at his reason, second by second. He knows full well the longer this drags on, the harsher Xia's negotiating terms will become. So an emergency video call is patched through. Elder Lee's face appears on screen. Robert flashes his practiced friendly smile. My dear Lee, we've looked into everything that happened at the border. We express our deepest regret. That was entirely Steve's own reckless decision, nothing to do with us. We never issued any order against Xia. Solvain has always loved peace. What we want is friendly, deep cooperation with Xia. He rattles all of this off in one breath, his tone humble, his posture as low as it gets. But Elder Lee just watches him quietly. waiting until he finishes, then replies evenly. "Are you done?" Robert freezes for a second. "Done? Good. Now it's my turn to talk." Elder Lee lays out Xia's demands, all of them. In just a few short minutes, Robert's face flushes deep red. He can't hold back his temper. "Lee, this is nothing but robbery. Do you even know what you're asking?" He slams the table hard enough to rattle it, and keeps going. "Open our borders and pay you the Wraith essence from 100 S-rank uncanny on top of it? That's simply not possible. If we agree to that, we'd be traitors to our own people. Lee, our nation needs its soldiers too. You're asking us to sign our own death warrant." Hearing this, Elder Lee doesn't lose his temper. He simply smiles faintly, then asks, almost carelessly, "Are you sure you want to refuse me? Think it through carefully. Do you really want Xia's guardian god?" Elder Lee's grin turning sly fox-like to pay you a visit and have a nice long chat with you all. The moment those words land, Robert's breath catches in his throat. Dead silence falls over the room. A suffocating grip, like an invisible hand, slowly closes around every throat in the room. And that crushing weight bears down hardest of all on Solvain's supreme leader. Robert closes his eyes. In his mind, images rise unbidden. Scene after scene from the border battlefield. And with that, strangely, his mind settles into calm. He looks up at Elder Lee on the screen, not agreeing outright, but forcing a heavy, deliberate tone instead. "This matter carries too much weight. We need to discuss it internally. We'll resume in 10 minutes. With that, he cuts the call without hesitation. The screen in the room goes dark instantly. Robert turns around, his gaze sweeping across every nation's hunter representative in the room. "Make your calls. Report everything that just happened to whoever's standing behind you exactly as it went." Solvain has already decided to agree. Whether you follow is entirely up to you. The moment he says this, more than a few faces turn ugly in an instant. But no one argues, because deep down they all know Robert is telling the truth. The next second, throughout the room, phones ring one after another, every representative on the line with their own leadership. Meanwhile, inside Xia's cabinet meeting room, Elder Lee and the others aren't idle either. They're preparing just as hard for what comes next. Pressure is only step one in bringing the other nations to the table. Xia still needs to offer something worthwhile afterward. Otherwise, the cooperation won't last. But whether this strengthens other nations' military power, that question doesn't even register as a real concern in the eyes of Xia's leadership. Because I'd already discussed this with Elder Lee privately. Anyone who advances through the special method I grant, regardless of nationality, regardless of status, can never break free of my influence. At best, they become devout believers. At worst, they become my servants. In other words, from the very start, this was never an equal partnership. Jay wins once through the faith system and wins again. A genuine, complete, absolute landslide win. Marcus can already picture it playing out, barely able to keep the corners of his mouth from curling up. If things really unfold that far, then Xia will effectively control the entire world's hunter system indirectly. This isn't just a rise. This is total coverage. Elder Lee nods, his gaze distant and deep. A golden age isn't far off. Release the footage. Let the whole world see exactly how hunters who dared trespass on Xia's border died. The moment he finishes, Marcus claps his hands and laughs. Good. Let them see exactly how wide the gap in strength really is. Let it break their spirit, strip away every last shred of defiance toward Xia. Technicians spring into action fast. The footage, already prepared, gets pushed out across the entire world at once, flooding every major internet platform. Every headline, all at the same moment, is dominated by a single image. People across the globe fall silent all at once. Just moments earlier, they'd been shouting, demanding their governments send troops immediately, demanding a real fight against Xia, demanding they seize what Xia had for themselves. But now, seeing the footage with their own eyes, every one of those voices cuts off dead. Plenty of them recognize instantly exactly who those hunters in the footage are. Their own nation's aces, its true elites. Yet now they look like ants, utterly helpless against that one man slaughtered, their bodies piled into mountains. Fear spreads fast. Public opinion turns on itself instantly. Citizens across every nation start pressuring their own governments in unison. And by the time each nation's leader realizes things have spun completely out of control, they're already trapped, unable to back down. Xia is waiting for their answer. And their own citizens, striking and pressuring at home, are waiting for an answer too. If they can't offer a satisfactory explanation, what awaits them is being torn apart by their own people's hands. Finally, in the national meeting room, the grim-faced hunter representatives from every nation trade a single glance. Exactly as Robert predicted, they have no choice left. Agree, or it all falls apart. Best to move while Xia is still keeping things civil. In the end, every one of them bows their head. Robert's expression is already about as ugly as it can possibly get. It's the look of someone driven into a corner, forced to keep up appearances anyway. A stiff, brittle mask. The air in the room is thick enough that it's hard to breathe. Everything unfolding has slipped completely beyond his control. He never imagined Xia would move this decisively, this ruthlessly, laying every truth bare for the world to see. No cover, no room to negotiate, none of the usual unspoken diplomatic courtesies. This is a raw, naked demand for them to submit. How dare they? Robert's knuckles clench without him meaning to. Cold sweat beads across his palm, and just as the room falls into dead silence, one voice breaks it first. Kaidan's Hunter Affairs Chief Griffin rises to his feet. Sir? We need to make a decision, and fast. Kaidan has already finished deliberating. We concede. With Kaidan fully bowing out, one nation after another falls in line. No one mentions pride anymore. No one clings to fantasies of a comeback. Watching it all unfold, Robert feels strangely a weary sense of relief. It's already come to this. There's no point punishing himself further, rushing to make an enemy of Xia. Besides, the pressure from Solvain's own public is already crushing him. If this drags on any longer, his own government's credibility might not survive it. Robert sums it up. Fine. Since everyone's reached the same conclusion and everyone agrees to cooperate with Xia, let's go back and iron out the details with them. Soon, a new round of video calls reconnects. Xia's cabinet appears on screen once more, only this time, the balance of power between them has completely flipped. The nations that once seemed untouchable now wear conflicted expressions, their spirits deflated. Xia's side, by contrast, looks calm and composed. Robert speaks first. Li, we agree to your terms? Every nation has reached the same conclusion. We'll go with what was discussed. Later, we'll offer our own people an explanation. We ask that you not push any harder. The words come out almost as a plea. Hearing this, Elder Li's expression stays calm. The substance is already secured. As for appearances, they don't matter much to Xia anymore. Elder Li taps the table lightly. Besides, pushing these nations too far into a corner wouldn't benefit Xia at this stage either. So Elder Li nods. Fine, we'll go along with whatever story you tell your people.